After suffering a 4-game losing streak, the Detroit Pistons now have back-to-back blowout wins. They're making sure of one thing: control the game and no more slip-ups. We'll break it down and talk about today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years, been a credential media member over the last 3 years. I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla cakey flavor. Caffeinated kick. And no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Also want to thank you guys for making Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. And also, if you want to tune into the live recording of the Locked On Pistons Squad Show every Tuesday and Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you get to ask some live questions to Lindsey Hunter, 2-time NBA champion and former Detroit Piston. Later on, we will talk about some role players have taken advantage of this opportunity. Some have not. We'll talk about it and break down who has been impressive and who hasn't. And then also, I want to talk about something that wasn't really on point in this game, but I think is more important to the overall grand scheme of things. And that is Cade's three-point shot. We'll get into it a little bit later. But I'm recording this right after actually the game still has 20 seconds left in the game, but the Pistons are up by 23 right now. So we'll wait. I don't have an exact score. The Pistons are going to win 131-109, I believe. So 22 points, actually. They dominated the Philadelphia 76ers. And the score at the end of the game looked closer than it actually was because, once again, the Pistons don't have to play their starters in the fourth quarter. They played a lot of their bench guys. Chaz Lanier, again, got minutes. Paul Reed got minutes. Davis Jenkins got an extended run. Sasser got extended run. Holland, Herter, all those guys. Jalen Duren only had to play 14 minutes. Cade Cunningham only played 28. He played all of those within the first 3 quarters. Didn't touch the floor in the fourth quarter. And they dominate the Philadelphia 76ers. And Philly didn't have Tyrese Maxey. They did not have Joel Embiid. They did not have a lot of guys. Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, Bona. They didn't have a lot of guys. This was Philly's, I don't even know if you want to say their B team. This was their C team. The Pistons can't help the fact that they've continued to find themselves in these type of positions where games against teams like this that maybe aren't contenders, but also aren't, just bad teams, happen to be dealing with injuries when they play them. But what they can help is that they treat them like a team that is playing their C-level team. What you don't want to see from the Pistons after this last stretch of 4 losses, and even, to be honest, the 10 games right after the All-Star break, we've talked about it. Even in their wins, they didn't look that impressive. In the game against Cleveland when they won, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell or James Harden, and it took a save at the end of the game by Davis Jenkins just to get them into overtime and win that game. Against Oklahoma City Thunder, they were without 6 of their top 7 players, and the Pistons had to play them all the way down to the wire just to get that win. And then obviously we know about the 4-game losing streak that featured a loss to the Brooklyn Nets after being up by 23 points at one point and losing the lead, and then following it up with the blowout loss to the Miami Heat. So we know all about that stretch. And what's most important for the Detroit Pistons, what we should want to see from the Pistons when they play against a team like Brooklyn a few days ago and Philadelphia without all their guys, you want to dominate from the get-go. There's absolute no slip-ups anymore. There's no more allowing a team that's nowhere near as good of you to hang around just a bit to get their confidence going. And next thing you know, you're in a close game at the end of the game, and now any mistake is big time. No more of those type of games, and continue to show that you are the best team in the East. You're one of the best teams in the league. Show that when you step on the floor with them to where it doesn't even look close, when it looks like you are completely bullying the opposing team. And they did that to Brooklyn. They're up by 30-something points here against Philly. I think it was their best lead was I think it was 36 or something. It was 35. Their largest lead was 35. And again, back-to-back games now where they don't trail for one single minute. This is now 48 consecutive minutes, or 48, so 96 minutes consecutively of not trailing an opposing team back-to-back games. So they've dominated. They've absolutely taken care of business, done what they've needed to do. One of the things I really liked specifically about this game from the Pistons, I really felt like the ball was moving side to side. The broadcast mentioned this. They had a season-high 37 assists in this game. Cade Cunningham did an absolutely fantastic job. He had 13 assists. He only had 8 points. That's not because he was struggling. That's because he just didn't shoot the ball. He only had 6 shots. He didn't need to shoot. He was putting on a playmaking display, just a masterclass when it comes to setting up your teammates. And he had one highlight reel pass, a behind that back pick and roll pass to Isaiah Stewart in the pick and roll. But outside of that, he was just making simple passes, like simple two-hand passes, nothing crazy, but they were just simple reads against what the defense is showing him. If they're tagging down the rolling defender, hitting the corner, three-point shooter every time. If they're not tagging down, throwing the lob every time. If someone helps, I'm making the kick out to the opposite wing if they're playing too aggressive at the nail. If I get all the way to the basket, I'm just going to nice touch pass, interior pass to a dump off to a big man, whether it be Isaiah Stewart or Ron Holland coming along the baseline. It just over and over and over again, Cade was just making the right read against the Sixers. And again, it wasn't nothing flashy. It wasn't nothing crazy. It wasn't something that you're going to see pop up on his highlight reel at the end of the season. But against a team like this, he just completely picked them apart surgically. It was very fun to watch. And it wasn't just Cade. When you get 37 assists, it's a lot of people contributing. And the ball was swinging side to side. They were attacking gaps. And once they create an advantage, they were then getting the ball out their hands. And then the next person who was able to attack the advantage that was created would then attack another gap. And then they're either dumping it off, finishing at the rim, or kicking out to another shooter. It was constant movement from the Pistons. It was constant ball movement, guys finding people open. People weren't just standing around. It wasn't a bunch of isolation. It was really good player movement, really good ball movement against, again, a Philadelphia 76ers team that didn't really have anybody. And the fact that the Pistons dominated from the get-go is what you want to see in situations like this. I do think that it's a bit of a bummer that I spoke about this maybe like 3 weeks ago. Right, I think it might have been during the All-Star break, actually, I spoke about this, that I was really looking forward to seeing the Pistons play some of these, not just some of the contenders that they had heard went against, like Cleveland and OKC, but even some of these teams like Philadelphia and the middling teams in the East, not the top 3 teams, but maybe the middling teams, Orlando, same thing. And just seeing how these teams look against each other. How do the Pistons look against the other teams in the Eastern Conference, the other good teams, not just great teams, but just the other good teams in the league? And I do feel like that we've kind of been, I'm assuming that, I'm going to take a guess and say a lot of people probably don't feel the same way as I do, but this is how I feel. I really wanted to see the Pistons play other teams full strength. I want to see the Pistons full strength play against some of these other teams full strength for 2 reasons. One, I'm a basketball fan. I want to see good basketball. And like I said, when they played San Antonio in their first game, when they lost, I thought that first half was one of the most entertaining halves, if not the most entertaining half of the season. 2 high-quality teams, fully healthy, going against each other, adjustments being made within the game. You see how emotional they were. They were playing hard. Like, that was fun basketball to watch. Even though the Pistons lost that half by 2 points, that was incredible basketball to watch between 2 high-quality teams. And I feel like we have been robbed of that a bit here over this stretch. Like, OKC wasn't healthy. Cleveland hasn't been healthy in any of these games. Like, Philly isn't healthy. Like, it feels like the Pistons keep... Now, it's good for their win-loss. They're stacking wins against these teams. I'm not complaining about wins. That's not what I'm doing. What I am saying is just simply, I would have loved to see the Pistons get all these teams full strength and see how they look and get some good basketball on the floor. It's good to see some blowouts. It's good to see the Pistons take care of business when they're supposed to. But I was looking forward to seeing how they could match up against some of these teams full health. And some of them we just haven't gotten to see that. So, I don't think you're really going to see the Pistons, at least in my opinion, get pushed to the limit, at least until the end of March, where they play the Lakers maybe. But I don't even know if the Lakers will be able to do it. The Pistons are too athletic. They got a really weak schedule coming up. So the Pistons should handle business. You should see a lot of blowouts here. They got Memphis and Washington twice. They go up against Toronto, who's not playing very well as of late, and the Pelicans. So you got a lot of easy games coming up. The hope is that you see a lot of blowouts like this and they take care of the business, and you don't have to see Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris, any of those guys in the fourth quarter. So good win for the Pistons. Dominated the Sixers. What I want to talk about coming up, though, is the only real part of these games I feel like you can have a takeaway from. Like, it's hard to look at some of these bad teams and these lineups that the starters are playing against him. Like, oh, yeah, the starters. Let's have a big takeaway for Cade or Duran. Like, we know what we're getting with them. Them playing against these guys, we expect them to dominate. The role players is what we should be focused on. And I do think we're getting a little bit of data with some of these guys. Some good, some bad. We'll talk about it coming up. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Because every player has their bag, with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need that dessert right now. Those late-night interviews hit, suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door with DoorDash in your bag all season long. Now I've got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Look at odds around your team if they are in season. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel, play your game. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. If you want to get Locked On Pistons ad-free and you also want to join the Locked On Pistons Discord server along with a bunch of other perks, you can join the Locked On Everydayer Club, where you can check it out in the description down below, whether you're listening to this on a podcast or if you're listening to this on YouTube. Go to the description down below, click the link if you want to join the Everydayer Club. Again, you'll get access to Locked On Pistons Discord, ad-free listens to Locked On Pistons, compatible with all podcast platforms, and a few other perks as well. Also want, again, notify you guys of Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live recording of Locked On Pistons Squad Show with Lindsey Hunter. You can tune in live, ask questions, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so like I said, the last few games, they're not against good enough competition for you to have like big arching takeaways from the main guys of the team. Like the fact that Cade plays a good game, Duran plays a good game, Tobias plays a good game against some of these teams. It's not a big deal to me. I'm not going to read too much into it. It's not the story from the game. The fact the Pistons are able to control the game and dominate and get an easy win, that's the story of the game. And then a subplot of that is, okay, how are these guys that are role players and getting a bigger chance, how are they doing? That's the big deal. That's what you should be watching for. And I think you're getting some good pieces of data, and I think you're getting some disappointing pieces of data. Let's start with the positives. I know at several different times this year, we've talked about, maybe he'll lose a few minutes. Maybe they'll take a few minutes from him here or there or whatever. I don't see a future at all where Javonte Green is just not in the rotation. Javonte Green has just been flat out good for the Detroit Pistons all year. And since the All-Star break, was he a little up and down? Yes. But even with him being a little up and down, he's one of the better three-point shooters on the team. And I can't believe I'm saying that at this point in the season. He's shooting 36% from three. It's not on crazy volume. He's only playing 18 minutes a game. But on 3 attempts a game, he's shooting 36%. And in this game, he hit, 4 threes against the Sixers? What he does on the defensive end as well, his off-ball defense is really impactful. His ability to create steals, his ability to disrupt offenses in the half court has been showing all season long. And he had a fantastic game here against Philly. He had 17 points, 2 rebounds, an assist. He had 3 steals. He was incredible in this game. He was a plus 20. He was incredible in his 19 minutes of action. And again, he was a little inconsistent since the All-Star break. But for the most part this year, he has been incredibly impactful for the team. He's probably been, if I had to, it would go Stu, has he been more consistent than Ron? Like, I think there's an argument that maybe he might have been at least as consistent as Ron, maybe even more consistent than Ron. So out of all the bench players, out of all the role players, I can't imagine Javonte Green ever getting his minutes cut no matter what. I mean, he's just been, even in games when he struggles, maybe you dial back the minutes, you just don't play him as much in those games when he struggles. I'm not saying that every player just deserves to get their set amount of minutes no matter what. But going into the game, he should be in the rotation every single time. He's just been too consistent. I would say more consistent than just about every other bench player. And with a team that struggles shooting, I can't believe I'm saying this. He's one of their... If you would have told me before the season that Javonte Green would be like a top 3-4 shooter on the team, I would not have believed you. And, I mean, that's where we're at right now. 36% from deep, 4 threes in this game. And he's been incredible on the defensive end of the floor. He's been a really good role player. So even through his inconsistencies at times since the All-Star break, he's responded well. So Javonte Green is a big arrow up sign. His stock is up. And he'll be in the rotation for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine that changing. Stock down. This one's disappointing. Marcus Sasser. There was a play, before I get into the overall thought with Marcus Sasser, there was a play in this third quarter that I very much disliked. I disliked this play from him so much that I had a stank face on my face when it happened. Like I so much disliked this play that he had. The Pistons got out in transition. Oh, I don't know if it was off a steal. I can't remember if it was off a steal or a block. But they basically had 4 guys down the floor. I believe it was Cade who kicked it ahead. And teammate on the right, I don't remember exact player, but just follow me here. One of his teammates on the right, they get the ball from Cade. They attack a gap. They kick it over to Marcus Sasser on the left side of the floor. Sasser gets the ball. He has Duncan Robinson wide open to his left. He could kick it to Duncan Robinson. He doesn't give it to him. Okay, that's the first processing read he didn't make, but okay, they can still make a play here. They have numbers. He attacks the gap. Now he has, not only does he still have Duncan open, but he's now forced the defense from the opposite end of the floor to now focus on him. And I believe it might have been Herter. I think it might have been at the same time that the broadcast was talking about whether you could play Herter and Robinson at the same time. But now you have Herter on the opposite end of the floor open because now you've attracted the defense from the opposite end of the floor. So you have 2 reads now that you could have made. 2 reads. And I think there was an opening for a dump off as well. But he didn't make any of those reads. Okay, now you've missed multiple reads. What are you going to do here? Instead, once he attacks the gap, he goes with a quick crossover and tries to go into a floater over a big man that he misses. That's one play. But those are the type of plays that, for me, when I'm watching a player, lets me know something I can't trust your processing. Like, if you those are some basic reads. And I'm not saying players don't make mistakes throughout a game. Like, you're going to make a mistake here and there. But for Marcus Sasser, who we've talked about a lot throughout the years, not being a point guard, someone you just want him to score because he's not able to make some reads, or he's not able to be like this point guard, this playmaker. Yes, but in today's NBA, every player on the court needs to be able to at least make basic reads. And the fact that he was unable to make that basic read kind of illustrates or paints like the whole dilemma with Marcus Sasser throughout his career, is that that's not just a one-off situation. He's just not been that good of a passer, and I would say processor as a playmaker. And he's super locked in as a scorer, and that's what happens. And even guys who are supposed to be scorers, if you're a small guard and all you're really offering is scoring, you need to be able to make basic reads once you attack off the ball, especially if you're an off-ball player. If Cade is, let's just say he's on the floor with Cade. If he's attacking downhill and Cade attracts help from the nail and kicks it out to Sasser and he gets a strong closeout, you need that off-ball player to then be able to attack that gap. And if there's no help, okay, score. But if you then get another attention from another defender, you need that player to be able to make the next read. So I know I'm focusing a lot on one play here, but that was the play that really was like, man, that I really dislike that. That makes me lose a lot of, like, that was rough. That was a rough play. And the reason why it sticks out even more, now that we get to the bigger picture, Sasser was 2 of 9 in this game. And that is, I know I spent a long time on the one play, but it was to push us into this direction of, if you are that player, if you are a small guard that is only really being played because you can shoot and you can score, and on top of that, we have to acknowledge and accept that you will have possessions where you just flat out miss reads because you're so locked in as a scorer, or you're unable to make, or you're just not that great of a processor of a defense. We have to accept that you're going to miss some of these reads in an attempt to score. You have to at least be a very good scorer. Like, if I'm getting all of that baggage, you have to be a consistent scorer. And like we talked about in the last episode, and sadly, it's happened again, Sasser has just flat out been not consistent at all for the Pistons. I gave him the pass a few episodes ago when I said, expecting a player to come in for a few minutes and take advantage of the opportunity he gets, it's hard. It happens, you got to do it, but it is hard. So I understand if that is contributing to some of his inconsistency. But I mentioned he's going to get a bit of a runway here, so let's see how he does. That shouldn't be an excuse here. He's getting a runway. Let's see how he plays. And just like earlier in the year, after the games at the end of December against the Lakers in Miami, we had 19 and 18 points, and he played well, and then he followed it up with an 0 of 2 performance, 0 of 1, 0 of 4, 3 of 7, 3 of 11 performance. Like, he follows it up with that, then he's barely getting playing time. Now he gets this chance, and in the first game against Brooklyn, 3 of 9. Miami, 0 of 3. Everybody was bad in that game, so you kind of throw that game out the window. Then against Brooklyn, 138-100 win for the Pistons. He has 14 points on 5 of 7 shooting. He's uber aggressive. He's showcasing some of that shot creation, and he hits 4 threes. You're like, okay, great. Love to see it. Let's see if he can build upon this. Let's see if we can get another good performance. And then, just like it's been all year for him, sadly, he follows it up with a bad performance. He's 2 of 9 from the floor. He's 2 of 7, I'm sorry, 1 of 4 from deep, 1 of 5 on twos. Along with the fact, like I said, you see him missing reads like that. So I would say Sasser's stock is down, and I don't think he's going to be a part of the rotation once Sasser gets back. And look, he's been given the chance. And Sasser is someone that I believe has a lot of offensive talent. And there is a microwave hyper scorer off the bench somewhere in there. There is that player somewhere in him. But he just has not taken advantage of these opportunities, and he's been way too inconsistent. He has high highs, and then he'll have low lows. So it's when you are fighting for a rotation spot, that's just, you can't have that. And we've seen that all year with him, sadly. So I don't think this has been a good stretch for him. And the fact that the one great performance came against Brooklyn, now that you follow it up with another, inconsistent game, it kind of makes one look back at that performance like, okay, I mean, well, it was against the Brooklyn Nets then. Like, should we really even care about that then? Like, I mean, that's what happened. So I would say that Sasser's stock is down, sadly. Last two, stock is up. Ron Holland, he was fantastic in this game, all over the place, and crazy on defense, uber hustle. We already know that Ron's about that. He was attacking downhill over and over and over again. Something we talked about in the last podcast is three-point shooting. He did get 3 threes up, but if you watch this game, there was a few times we did catch the ball with space in front of him, and instead of him taking the 3 like he's been, he was attacking the gap downhill, either trying to get a shot up or then trying to get the defense in rotation and swing. He was also attacking the space given to him before he actually got the pass to try to open up a cut for him at times as well. So it looks like he was trying to find different ways instead of just settling for catch and shoot threes, which was cool to see, but he was still 0 of 3 from deep, and that's rough to see. But I think he was overall really good in this game and very, very aggressive as a driver. He was 4 of 4 in all of his 2-pointers, got to the free throw line 7 times. So stock up for Ron. And then lastly, this one hurts. I would say stock down for Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He also had 2 steals, so he stuffed the box score a little bit. But he was 4 of 13 from the field, and he was 2 of 7 from beyond the arc. And he had a stretch there in that second quarter. He hit back-to-back threes, and it was like, okay, is he about to find a shot? That could be big for the Pistons. And then he missed every shot after that. And like I've said multiple times on here, it's going to be this Fee Mikhailuk syndrome. If a shooter who improves on all the other stuff about his game, but then forgets how to shoot, there's really no, like, I still think his minutes probably would be better than Karas's. I do believe that. But he has to start hitting shots, and he hasn't been able to consistently hit shots now for a year and a half, 2 years. So, look, he's able to finish at the rim some. I think he's a really nice playmaker. He has a good ball handle. He's able to attack closeouts. He's a smart player. He does good stuff. But if he's not hitting outside shots, none of that is going to matter. And he hasn't been able to hit them. there was a brief thought there in the second quarter. I was like, oh my God, this could be big. And then he just went cold after that. So sadly, I have to say stock down for Kevin Huerter. You're waiting for him to break out and have this great three-point shooting game, and just hasn't happened yet. So that's where we're at with the role players on the bench for the Pistons. So coming up, I do want to discuss now, though, Cade's three-point shot, which I think is a pretty big deal. And I think there's a possibility that there has been a big three-point leap made by Cade Cunningham that's been hidden by some of the percentages. I'll tell you guys what I mean by that coming up. Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. My pick is always going to be the strawberry banana flavor, a tropical delight with strawberry, a taste that goes in everything from smoothies and milkshakes to cakes and ice cream. I absolutely love strawberry banana. It's probably my favorite flavor for just about everything. So that would be my pick, but let me know what you guys' number one pick would be. You got cotton candy, fruity rainbow, cherry, grape, berry, sour apple, Hawaiian breeze, peach mango, on and on and on. You have so many new flavors with 5-Hour Energy. Like I said, 18 new flavors that you can try out and check over at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. You can find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots and let me know what your number one draft pick would be for the 5-Hour Energy shots at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. Then let me tell you guys about another one of our sponsors. Got to tell you about Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill that's still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Let's get into Cade's three-point shot, which has been a big talking point of this podcast for years. I think it was 2 episodes we talked about how I want Cade to up his three-point volume, and I think that would help his efficiency and improve his shot selection. And take the three-point shots when they're there for him. But there is something else that showed up on my radar that I ended up digging into a little bit, and that's how I got here. I'll go ahead and credit Omari Sankofa, the Detroit Pistons beat writer. He tweeted what Cade had been shooting from 3 the last 5 games. I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. Let me go look at some numbers. So then I started just going through Cade's jumper and looking through different things. And that's how I got here, and I wanted to talk about this. So, yeah, Cade's been incredible on threes the last 5 games. He's shooting 53% on 5.2 attempts a game over the last 5. But if you keep extending that back and back, the number remains extremely high over the last, 10 samples or 10 games, 20 games. If you go over the last 20, he's shooting 38.7% on 6 attempts. You go over the last 10 games, shooting 41% on 5.8 attempts. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think there's a very good chance that Cade Cunningham has made a large three-point shot-making leap, and we just haven't really noticed, and people haven't really noticed because the percentage has lied to a lot of people. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Cade in the 23-24 season, right, you look at his three-point shot making. On catch and shoots, he was a 37.3% catch and shoot three-point shooter, right? He shot around 31, 32% on pull-up jumpers from threes. That was in 23-24. In 24-25, he was a 40% or 39% three-point shooter, on catch and shoot three-point looks, and a 31% shooter on dribble pull-ups. Cade's entire career, he has been a very, very good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. His entire career. It's not a little bit of a sample. It's not a 10-game sample, not a 20-game sample. It's not, one season. His entire career, he has been a very good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. But he has not been as consistent as a pull-up three-point shooter since college. College, that was one of the biggest selling points with him, and he's been inconsistent with that throughout his career. We saw a little bit of it last year. It started to look a little bit better, but he's just been inconsistent with it. It hasn't been nearly as big of a weapon as maybe a lot of us wanted coming out of college, right? But he's always been a great to very good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. Fast forward to this year, he is shooting 32% on catch-and-shoot three-point looks. The reason why I say that number is because the first 2 months of the year, Cade was hovering around 12% on catch-and-shoot three-point looks. 12%, like the first 2 months of the year. He was shooting absolute abysmal on catch-and-shoot three-point looks. That's why I believe these percentages are lying to how good of a three-point shooter Cade actually is this year. I think Cade has made a pretty big jump as a three-point shooter because since then, he has gotten his three-point shot on catch-and-shoot looks up to 32%, which means it's progressing to where we expect it to be from, the past year's evidence. And two, he's shooting an incredibly high percentage on these catch-and-shoot three-point looks to get it to where it's rising from 12% all the way up to 32% at this point in the year. That's two. Thirdly, despite the fact that he's had an abnormal, and I guess I should probably hit on that a little more, this wasn't like a Kevin Huerter thing where you have 2 years of sample of him just stopping being a shooter, and now you have to actually consider, is he just not a good shooter anymore? This was a very obvious abnormal stretch of a guy just going through a shooting slump for a guy who has for years been a very good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, was just going through his slump, and once he got out of it, he's been a fantastic catch-and-shoot three-point shooter since. So that was not a depiction of what Cade actually is. That was just a shooting slump. So his percentage of 34.8% on the season is not a fair depiction of how good of a three-point shooter Cade actually is this year. The shooter that you will see from Cade in the playoffs, that you will see from Cade game in and game out moving forward, the shooter that he is today is not fairly representative by his overall three-point shooting or percentage on the season. And the last thing I want to point out, which is even a bigger deal, probably the biggest deal of it all, is that the one area, like we said earlier, that he wasn't great on, that everyone wanted to see him take this jump in, was his pull-up three-point shot making. This year, on more volume than any other point in his career, according to Synergy, he is shooting 36% on pull-up threes. Again, last year he was shooting 31%. Year before, he was 31% from three. He would ride highs, he would ride lows, he was inconsistent with his off-the-dribble three-point shot making. This year, he has made a large jump. He went from going from 31% to 36% on pull-up threes is a large jump, especially when you hold this type of volume increase that Cade has seen. So he's made a jump as a dribble pull-up three-point shooter. Last I checked, he was around top on guys that take at least, I believe it was 3 a game. I looked at this last week. I should have kept it pulled up. But of players that are taking at least 3 pull-up threes a game, I believe he was around 10 to 15th out of around 40 some odd guys. So he was definitely in the top half. I believe he was in the top third of guys who take that type of volume and hit it at that percentage. So he's been a very good pull-up three-point shooter. And we know that he was not nearly as bad of a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter as we saw at the beginning of the year. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing that play out. So if we're dealing with the Cade Cunningham moving forward, ignoring his season-long three-point percentage, if you agree with me and you believe that Cade is not the 12% three-point shooter we saw at the beginning of the year, he actually is much closer to the sample we have the last 2 years, where he's around 39, 38% catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, and that this recent stretch that's had him rise to 32% on these looks is actually indicative of who he is. So we have a guy who is a playmaking engine, a guy who can get in the paint, a guy who it runs your entire offense, drawing more free throws than ever. This is the most he's ever drawn free throws. Now, his percentage on free throws has dropped, and that's frustrating, because if he was still at his 85% that he usually was at, you would see even more, obviously, points in the box score, but obviously a much better, efficient season from him. But you're seeing a guy who's had all that other stuff we just said. He's drawing more free throws than ever. He's hitting more pull-up threes than ever before. He's taking more than them than ever before. And we're also to believe that he's actually a 38 to 39% catch and shoot three-point shooter. That is a completely next level basketball player. And that three-point shooting at the beginning of the year, I think, is one of the biggest reasons why Cade's efficiency is down. Now, his shot selection, his inability to finish at the rim at times, he's not the greatest finisher at the rim. That is definitely holding him back as well. But if he was shooting his normal percentages on catch and shoot looks all year, I mean, we'd be looking at a guy, I think, around like 58 true shooting, 59 true shooting. This would be by far his most efficient season. How much he's getting to the free throw line now, with how many more looks he's getting at the rim, with how much more free throws he's drawing. This would be by far and away his most efficient season. And the numbers are lying, I think, to people who just look at the number and haven't watched them all year or don't really dive into it. I feel like it's really lying to people. He's not this bad. He's not a 34 or 34.8 three-point shooter. He is probably, this year, I would say, something I would describe as like a 37% three-point shooter. A guy who is consistently hitting pull-up threes and consistently and is a high-ceiling catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. That stretch at the beginning of the year, I don't really care about. That's not who he actually is. If we are to look at Cade as the player since then, this is a guy who is shooting threes at a higher clip than we've ever seen him do it. If you just go since December 1st, let's just go since then. I believe that's around 40-ish games, 41 games. 37% on 6 attempts a game. That's great. That's absolutely great. I'd like to see that volume even picked up. If you could get 7.5 threes off with that volume or with that percentage, that'd be fantastic. So I think Cade, overall point of this segment, I think Cade has actually made a three-point shooting leap this year, and not enough people realize it because of how much he struggled as a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, something he's always been great at the beginning of the year, holding that number down. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil if you agree or disagree with me. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.